Hello once again. Soon after I started to send my previous movie, at 10:20 UTC, a strong 6 magnitude earthquake took place in California, not too far from San Francisco. As always, I've checked ACE solar winds readings, and I was surprised by the lack of any space weather activity during the time of quake. However, not all space weather events are caused by the solar wind. For example, the backside gusts of neutral particles are not connected with the activity of Sun, and when the quake was taking place, Earth was by coincidence influenced by one of such gusts. I've said it couple times before, but I will do it again. Neutral particles are not affected by magnetic fields, and they can pass through the radiation belts without any problems. Notice as well that the gas is visibly opposing the solar wind. I've checked how this gust affected the ionosphere. It's hard to find anything spectacular, but I've managed to find a couple interesting connections. First one can be seen on the neutral gas temperature monitor. Neutral particles visibly cooled down during the backside gust. Second effect is more disturbing. This monitor shows the density of oxygen at 450 kilometers. Notice what happens with the lower value at the time of gust. It drops rapidly. I'm not sure if it is connected directly with the neutral particles gust, but there are some visible disturbances which were recorded by GOES satellites over Northern America around the time of quake. First time took place between 4 and 5 UTC, just when some disturbances are being recorded on the sounder readings. Couple hours later, similar disturbance takes place on the second side of continent, and it starts right at the time of first backside gust. Look how the disturbance looks on Mauna Kea monitors. But on 24th of August there was another significant quake, 7th magnitude in Peru, which took place at 23:21 UTC. This time I didn't have too many problems in finding the possible cause. At the time Earth was passing through a separated region of IMF with different magnetic orientation, -1. Funny, the shift took place right at the time when, according to Gong, Earth should enter positive part of IMF. Enlil data shows a clear shift of polarity as well. But soon after it changed its mind. There was a huge spike of low energy particles recorded by ACE soon before we crossed the second sector boundary. The entire event visibly affected the magnetosphere. And what is as well important, electric potential of the ionosphere was during this time seriously disturbed. Some of you noticed probably the increased number of energetic particles. It is a clear sign of proton event, which was probably caused by this M2 flare. It originated very close to area of main Earth connectivity point, and the broken field lines are now connected to our planet, sending energetic particles through the high-speed flux tube. More is still to come, as couple hours later an M3.9 class flare took place in the same region. In last 2 days, the disturbances on Schumann resonance monitor visibly grew in strength. It seems that Enlil IMF polarity monitor changed its mind once more, and it decided that the magnetic shift from 24th of August was indeed a crossing of a sector boundary. Right now we are being influenced by a CME wave which was emitted during the latest solar flares outburst. However, the velocity is very small, around 280 km per second. Besides, it's the BY magnetic component which is affected mostly by this event, so there won't be probably any geomagnetic storms. However, the impact was visible clearly on the magnetosphere monitors, as the domination of BY component stretched the magnetotail to the sides. But this can't be seen on the Y-cut view. Anyway, the compression is still visible here nicely. It seems that couple hours after I've said that the latest CME impact won't cause any geomagnetic storm, auroral power started to grow and it is reaching now more than 50 gigawatts, what shows clearly that I was wrong. Gauss electron flux and magnetometer plots show some obvious geomagnetic disturbances. This time NOAA didn't sleep and raised the KP index to 4. This is one of the factors which triggered this storm. Soon after midnight on 27th of August, BZ magnetic component started to drop, and at its lowest point it reached minus 15 nanoteslas, what is more than enough to become geoeffective. And this is the second factor, a rapid increase of all solar wind values, density, velocity and temperature. However, this impact took place couple hours after the BZ turned southward. Both of those events affected seriously the geomagnetic field, and we can see some very strong disturbances on most of ground magnetometer readings. In Canada, geomagnetic jolts reached almost 300 nanoteslas, what is more than in the case of last CME impact from 19th of August. In Kiruna, the disturbance was even stronger, and it reached more than 500 nanoteslas. Similar jolts were recorded in Norway. There were two separate events during the entire day. First one was connected with the southward BZ orientation, and second one which was caused by the impact of solar wind. It is visible nicely on this Ovation Prime monitor. The storm caused by incoming solar particles started between 14 and 15 UTC. During the first phase of storm, there was a clear increase of cosmic ray density, what gives me a hint that there was some influence of low energy field taking place at this time. And I can confirm it with the readings from SWMF monitors. I won't explain them once more, since they are pretty similar to the ones which I've explained in previous episode. Just look. There is a visible backside pressure which opposes the CME wave. But finally, solar particles manage to overcome the opposing force and pass through with a density spike. It looks that the increased space weather activity is not going to end too fast. Right now a completely new kind of event started to take place. It seems that the solar wind density spikes are now followed by opposite down spikes, which not only decrease rapidly the amount of ions, but affect as well the velocity. Here is a closer look at the latest downspike. All those events affected greatly the Schumann resonance. However, much more is still to come, as the only positive coronal hole is currently facing Earth, and in couple days we can expect an impact of fast solar wind. Okay, that's it for today, as my brain slowly gets overheated. Class dismissed. Stay safe.